So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another edition of Is It That Bad? When we take a look at albums and we say, Is it that bad? And as you can tell, it's really fucking early here, so I'm having some coffee. And again, I'm joined by my good friends, Tom the Green Man and JC Rock and Metal Review. So, how are you guys?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Great, great. So we're here to talk about a band that I have a vinyl here, but this isn't the album that we're talking about. But I have Limp Bizkit, Significant Other on vinyl because I want you all to guys know that I actually am a fan of this band. I don't care. I wore my red hat. I had my, I did it all from the Nuki back in the day. So yeah, do not teach me. So, but we're not talking about this album. We're talking about an album that came in 2003 that you guys voted for us to be the next album that we would recall on the Is It That Bad series. And that album is this one right here. Limp Bizkit Results May Vary, or I like to call it like the green album cover with the bald Fred Durst without a hat screaming. Yeah. I remember when this came out, and I think it is interesting that he named the album Results May Vary. So, key points about this album. Oh, I don't see myself in the video. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm like, where did I go? I'm like, okay. So, key points in this video is that when this album came out, like a lot of the important facts, Wes Borland, who was their guitar player, had left the band. So that was a huge thing. Like Wes Borland, a lot of people don't give him enough credit, but he's a great guitar player. He plays some other bands, Big Dumb Face. He's got a band called Black Light Burns that does more industrial, like Nine Inch Nails type of music. So listen to his other shit because he's a great guitar player and he can sing too. And he was a huge part of that Limp Bizkit sound. So when he left, the band had to like hire different guitar players to play on this album. So that's an interesting fact about that. So if you've seen this series of the Is It That Bad video, you know that we do the first round where we talk about our first impressions when we listen to this album. Then we go to our second round where we talk about the tracks that we think are the weakest. And since this is a long album, we're picking 4 tracks. And the last round, we give our, like we rate it, we say like, is it that bad or isn't that bad? And we give our final thoughts. So today, usually I pick John to start, but I'm gonna mix it up today. And I'm gonna have Tom start it for us today. So Tom, what do you think of this album when you first heard it?
I only listened to it really for the first time for this video because I was never really a big Limp Bizkit fan back in the time when nu metal was at its height and everyone was into it. I think I vaguely remember Significant Other, and I liked a couple of songs in that album. I do remember that. It was a couple of my friends loved the Chocolate Starfish and Hot Dog flavored something album, and I just don't think they had a sound that I particularly enjoy. They're very, for me, one of the most nu metal bands, Limp Bizkit. You don't get much more nu metal than Limp Bizkit. They kind of encapsulate that whole fashion sense as well with Fred Durst. When you think of nu metal, you often think of him with his red baseball cap and the trousers, the chain wallet, and all of that is like, that to me is like the picture of nu metal. But anyway, this album, it's a strange album, a little bit like when I was listening to this, how we were talking about Chinese Democracy the other week by Guns N' Roses. This is another one of those albums where it feels like the band don't have, a direction. There's lots of things that they're experimenting with a little bit, or a few things, not lots necessarily. But there's a couple of other styles in this album besides the sort of standard nu metal. I think Fred Durst was leading this album a bit more because Hector covered the bit about, what's his name, Wes leaving the band.
Yeah.
Someone called Mike Smith came in. I don't really know Mike Smith much myself, but
yeah, he played in the band Snot.
Yeah. And so this is the thing. I looked up on Wikipedia about this album as well, and it said this was branching out into some other styles more than just their new metal style too. So you get hints of a bit of alternative rock on a few tracks, I think. Fred Durst, he seems to be trying a few other things. You get the odd sort of strange hip hop style song, just pure hip hop, not so much metal on a couple of the songs I think that I can think of. You get one or two more acoustic based tracks as well. And then you get some heavy ones. You get some more of what you might expect from Limp Bizkit with those hooks in. And I'll reserve my final judgment of this album for the last round. I won't give away what I really think of it. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, 18 tracks is a lot of songs as well. And I think that's sort of in a way, whether intentionally or unintentionally, it is, for me, too many songs on an album that, it's not a prog album or anything, and it doesn't sort of keep you, it's not cohesive, that's the word. It's not cohesive to me. So yeah, that's kind of my initial thoughts of the album, really. And without giving away how I really feel about it, I'll probably just stop at this point.
Nice. So Tom, I'm assuming you never did it for the Nookie.
Yeah. Break stuff, that song, isn't it?
Oh my God. I have a funny story about that song, Break Stuff. When that came out, I was actually driving, getting to my parents' house. And back then, the driveway to get to my parents where they lived, it was like a short street that not two cars could pass. Now they fixed it, and now they open it, and now two cars can pass, like one going and one going through. So they didn't have that. And I'm going. I was getting there after night, and I'm blasting Break Stuff in the car, and I'm getting to my house, and this car comes in I'm almost getting to the end, and this car comes, and he didn't want to back out, and I'm like singing, "Break your fucking face to that!" Like he's like not backing down, and I'm not backing down, and I'm glad that he didn't have a gun. But the thing is that like we were like bumpered, no, like you go back, no, you go back, and finally he went back. But I was listening to that track when that happened, so yeah, it's a funny story about that track. So I always remember when I listened to that track that time where I had like this road rage with this other car, see who was going to back down and let me pass. So yeah, interesting story. So JC, did you listen to this when it came out?
No, not this album. I listened to like their first few albums. I was kind of into them. The early 2000s, late 90s was a strange time in music, because like this was like the most popular stuff like on the radio and on the charts. And Limp Bizkit was a really big band. I thought the first three albums, that When You Have Significant Other, that's probably their best. Hot Dog Flavored Water was a pretty good album as well. Yes, that one is good. But I think by the time this one came out, I didn't really listen to it until much later. And like Tom was saying, it's a lot. They're mixing a lot of different stuff. They're doing some of the straightforward rap, some of that classic Limp Bizkit stuff, and they were trying this new, I guess I'll call it alternative. I compare it to bands like Sublime, Everlast, or Days of the New, that like acoustic kind of grunge type of sound,
yeah,
with kind of like some hip hop elements. There were a few songs in that style, which, like I said, I'll give my final opinion at the end, but those songs that were more those like acoustic, like alternative songs, I thought were okay. But I think that it's an album, it's definitely too long. It's 16 tracks. And so basically I listened to it like for the first time, like front to back, I think, like when we prepared to do this, because I've only heard like songs, like one song in particular, which is I won't say what it is now, but it's one that I've heard a lot, and it's one that like has always come up on my playlists when I listen to different things. But that's all. Yeah, I'll leave it at that, and I'll like elaborate more once we get to the next rounds. Yeah.
Nice. So I actually bought this album when it came out. This album actually has one of my favorite Limp Bizkit songs of all time, and it's "Eat You Alive." I'm like, that is a great track. And I remember the music video on MTV. It had that actor. Oh my God, I forgot his name. That he died. He was in Titanic. Bill. Oh,
Paxton.
Bill Paxton was in the music video.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and also there was Thora Birch, one of the actresses from American Beauty, was on the video, and the concept was basically that his father didn't want her to date Fred Durst, because who in their right mind would want their daughter to date Fred Durst? I'm telling you, if my daughter, when she turns 18 or like is dating, brings me someone like Fred Durst, I'll say like, get him the fuck out of here. Like,
Yeah.
like no. He just wants the nookie. Okay, no. So yeah, but I remember that song and the music video as well, and I actually liked it. And I actually bought that album when it came out. So I did listen to it when it came out back in 2003. But I hadn't listened to that album in a long time, except like "Eat You Alive" and maybe the "Behind Blue Eyes" cover that they did for the Who cover that they did on that album. But besides that, I hadn't returned to this album as much, but I returned now to it, to prepare for to discuss if it's that bad or not. But yeah, I did listen to it when it came out. And it was an album that when I must agree, it is a long album. It has a lot of tracks, and yeah, we will discuss that in further rounds. But I'm the only one here who actually did buy it when it came out. I'm like, I was still down with them. Even though after Limp Bizkit is a band that you have to, maybe people won't remember now, but they were huge. Like before Linkin Park hit big, Limp Bizkit was the biggest new metal band in the world. They were bigger than Korn. They were bigger than Deftones, but Deftones not as much as new metal band, just the first albums. And there was a time that like Limp Bizkit, everything they did, like they released Significant Other, it went through the roof. Then they did Chocolate Starfish and Hot Dog Flavor Water, which I think sold like 1 million copies on the first week. It was like one of the biggest albums of that year. And after that, and Woodstock, I think people like maybe outgrew Limp Bizkit, because their music is very, even though that Fred Durst said in an interview right now that they're not, he hates jocks, but like, really? Because this sounds like the type of music like you could play in a football game and people will be like, yeah, like, so yeah, that was my initial thought. So now we're going to round 2, and we're going to discuss the worst offenders. So since this has 16 tracks, or a lot of tracks, we're doing 4 songs. So Tom, what songs did you pick as the worst offenders?
All right, my least favorite tracks, one of them was called Red Light, Green Light. And
With Snoop.
I mean, I suppose it's because partly I'm not really a hip hop person, but even though this was hip hop, it didn't do a lot for me. And I just found it kind of like, Snoop Dogg is doing the vocals, isn't he? I think on this track.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just, I found it really like just kind of boring. I mean, there's probably hip hop I prefer to this kind of stuff for sure. And this was just found it really dull. Like, I just couldn't wait for it to end, that track. Another one I didn't like was Take It Home, which comes straight after that one on the album. It's a very short song, but so doesn't really bother me so much because it's over very quickly. But it's just really odd that it's such a short song as well. And Fred Durst is singing about crying himself to sleep, like he wants us to feel sorry for him or something. I don't know. Where he's going, cry myself to sleep, like several times over at the end of the track. And the track is only 1 minute and 40 seconds, and it's repetitive. or whatever it is.
He cried himself to sleep because he didn't get the nookie.
Well, that might explain it, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that wasn't on very good. Another one I didn't like was Head for the Barricade. There's all this kind of shouty vocals, fight, fight, and it's just like really edgy and cringy. Like, I don't know. I didn't really enjoy that one either. It was just like, yeah, I didn't find anything that, appealed to me at all in that song either. The last one I think is a track called Phenomenon. Is it Phenomenon?
Yeah.
I noted 3 tracks. But yeah, this one also was a little better than the other 3 choices I think I've picked. Just catchy in an annoying way though, where it goes boom, 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 phenomenon. And that just got on my nerves. And so those 4 put together were just, yeah, I had enough by the time I finished those songs, for sure. So those are my 4 least favorite on the Results May Vary. There are actually, I don't know if we talk about this in the final round, but there were a couple of songs I did quite like too.
Yeah, we can talk about
You
that.
Alive. Yeah, we'll do that later.
But so Tom, after you finished listening to this album, did you cry yourself to sleep?
No, I just probably went to sleep.
So now we're going, JC, what are your 4 picks of like the worst offenders?
Okay, the first one, Give Me the Mic. It just, I don't know, there was like a time when these like new metal rap bands were writing these lyrics just saying how much of a badass and how much I'm gonna kick your ass, and they're just like really bad, and it's just like a really just basic type of song. It's just like filled with like curses, and actually the guitar riff was kind of very just bland. It was kind of boring, and then the drum beat was just very like standard. So that one was bad for me. The second one is the song Almost Over. It's just like one of like the laziest like songs ever written, because in the lyrics, like everything, like he rhymes with like this, I was a little boy. Then every line ends with like, I was a little boy, I was a little boy. And
that's
then
the one where he
verse,
says like baby 10 times.
something like that. Yeah. Yeah. And then it's like, I was a little, then I was an older man. And then this, I was an older man. It's like the laziest lyrics ever. So that's like so repetitive. Yeah. And I also noted that down. And then, yeah, he just got, then in the chorus, he says like, looks like baby, baby, baby. So it's just like a really like lazy song. The next one I picked was Red Light, Green Light with Snoop Dogg, which Tom said. It's straightforward hip hop, but another one, just like Fred Durst, I guess he wrote the lyrics, because like there's a big difference between Snoop's rap and Fred's rap, because when Fred Durst rap, it's just like freak baby, red light, green light, and then it just basically repeats that like throughout most of his section. Then when Snoop comes in, he gives like a proper like rap where it's a typical Snoop rap, but that one is just out of place. It's just like rapping, and like it belongs on like a hip hop album, or maybe it belongs on like a Snoop album, but it wasn't like a Limp Bizkit type of song. And the other one is the cover of Behind Blue Eyes. It's a song I've heard a lot, because for some reason, like there was a time when like YouTube Music kept like throwing this on my playlist, and I ended up listening to it a bunch of times. But this one, like he doesn't sing the song properly. I think there's one section of the song where like they have this like distorted voice, and they go like discover
The computer, yeah.
LIMP.
Like,
that doesn't make any sense. And Fred Durst also doesn't sing the whole song. He leaves the whole section out, because if you listen to the original Who song, there's one part where Roger Daltrey sings. I'm not sure if it's Roger Daltrey or Pete Townsend. Like there's another verse where it says like, when my fist clenches, crack it open, and then that whole section. But I think that like Fred Durst like couldn't like reach that range, so that's why they like took it out, and they added in that like discover LIMP section. And so I'm thinking, if like you're gonna cover a classic rock song, I mean, like pick one that like you can sing instead of just like having to like adapt a song to like your vocal style. So that's why I think that's a bad cover. And so that's it. That's my four. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? They could do good covers because when they did that Faith cover, they made it their
Yeah.
own. Like
Yeah.
if you hadn't listened to that George Michael song, and when you listen to Limp Bizkit, you're like, oh my God, this is a George Michael cover because they made it their own. And
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with that Behind Blue Eyes. That part where it's like Limp. This cover, I'm like, what the fuck is that? Yeah. So I agree. So those are your four tracks. So I'm gonna now give my four tracks. So yeah, Limp Bizkit usually had some hip hop in their albums because on this one they have End Together Now with obviously one of the best rappers from Wu-Tang Clan on that album. Oh my God, I forgot the name of that rapper. All of a sudden, it went out of my head. No, it wasn't Redman. It was. It will come back to me later. But they could. That was a good hip hop rap song. So I'm also picking Red Light, Green Light. And I'm going to give my reasons why that song is bad. I think Snoop Dogg is underused in that song because he's like goes like red light, green light. Tell me when you're ready to go. You need to sing it. You guys didn't sing it, so you could get the freak baby, freak baby. And it goes like with the red light, green light for like a lot of time. It's like red light, green light. I'm like, okay, we get it. Red light, green light, you're ready to go, whatever. So it's like a very it's bad hip hop. And I like hip hop from the 90s. So I actually, yeah, and I think they underuse Snoop Dogg on that one. If you're gonna have Snoop Dogg, have Snoop Dogg on the song, like have a song that's more complicated. It was a very basic song, like the kids today would say. And that's why I agree that it's one of the worst hip hop songs ever. Other songs that I think are really bad, I agree with Take It Home because it doesn't feel like a song. It feels like a long intro going to the other song. And he's like, and it has like a like this sounds. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And he's like, crying myself to sleep. Yeah, it's just, is it a song? Is it an intro? Is it an outro? I don't know. It's just weirdly placed on the album. So I think it's bad. The other one, I have one, the same one that JC said, the Almost Over, where he's rhyming the lyrics like I was like a little boy. Yeah, it's lazy. And when I was listening to that track, I'm like, how many times does he say baby in the track? He's like baby, baby, and he doesn't say baby. He's like baby, baby, and I'm like, oh my god, it gets really annoying by the 20th baby. And a problem that this album has is that, like Tom was mentioning at the beginning, it doesn't know if it wants to rock or if it wants to be sensitive or if it wants to be more hip. Because it's very uncohesive, like Tom would say. I picked two songs. Let me, a song that you haven't said, it's the beginning track, Re-Entry. It starts like with a circus, like, oh, you got Limp Bizkit. And they're like, it's like an intro song. They're like, oh, we're back. And then it goes into Eat You Alive, which is a track that I love. And I'm like, re-entry, like why? Like, what was the point of that? Because it's like half a song, half like an intro. So yeah, it is bad. And I would have just started the album with Eat You Alive and cut that out. And did I pick four or do I have one more? I don't know if I have one more, but I'll have one more. Like, yeah, I think that Behind Blue Eyes is a terrible cover. I used to like it back when it came out, but then I listened to, like JC said, the original. And when you listen to the original song and that cover, you're like, yeah, first of all, Fred Durst is not a singer. I prefer when he keeps his rap, like he's more like screaming and rapping delivery, because that's what he can do well. But you're not a singer. When he tries to get like more like with the acoustic guitar and be like more like Kurt Cobain or something like that, I'm like no, like that's not you. You're not that versatile. So those are my picks for the worst song. So now we're going to the third and final round where we're going to give our final thoughts and our ratings on this album. So Tom, what are your final thoughts on this?
My final thoughts are that it's really inconsistent as an album. It doesn't flow very well. I've always found Fred Durst's vocals just a bit jarring, even though he's, like you say, he's not really a singer, he's more of a rapper and everything. It's just not the kind of voice that's for me, personally, as it is with the music. There are moments of some of the music on this album I don't mind. I think are okay. And JC, it's interesting you mentioned "Give Me the Mic" because the way that starts, I quite like the start of it, but it just repeats the riff over and over again. It's got that kind of dun 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 dun, and I quite liked that. But then it just repeats ad infinitum, and it just goes on too long. I also like, you both said "Eat Your Lives" quite good, although the lyrics are pretty cringe when you sing them or when you read them. I liked, there was a track on here that for a time I quite liked it, "Down Another Day." There's like the verses have got this cool atmosphere in the background, like, I don't know, some electronic work or something that I thought was, oh, that's quite nice. That's quite good. The chorus wasn't too bad. So "Down Another Day," maybe besides "Eat You Alive," musically, I quite enjoyed that track. But yeah, as a whole, taken as a whole, I think this album is going into the trash pile with those other albums we've put in the trash pile. So alongside Kid Rock, Nickelback, we put The Astonishing in there, didn't we? I'm trying to think of all the albums we put in the
Saint Anger.
Saint Anger, that's right. Yeah, that's another one that went in. And Battles we put in there, didn't we? I think as well, by In Flames.
Yeah, I think so.
And I wanted to put Dream Theater in the trash can, but you saved it, Tom.
Well, I was outvoted. Though, so it is in the trash can still. I got outvoted. So yeah, for me, it's that bad. Not maybe the worst of all the ones we've talked about, but it's down there for me. It's down.
Yeah. So what about you, JC? What's your final thoughts on this one?
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a thumbs down. I think it's bad as an album as a whole. I would say there are a few songs that I did kind of like, and those were more like the like alternative kind of grungy songs. "Down Another Day," I thought that was pretty good. I thought it was well written. I like the melody; it's catchy. I like "Build a Bridge." Another one, that one reminded me of like that Sublime or Everlast, like that kind of style. And they were going for that on this album on a few of the songs. So I thought that was pretty good. And one of the last tracks called "Drown," they were kind of going for like an Alice in Chains type of sound, and I thought it was good. For Fred Durst, like when he sings, he probably used auto tune as well, but I thought he sung that pretty well because it was within his range. So I thought that was pretty good. But I'm saying thumbs down because in general, out of like the 16 or 17 tracks, whatever it is, I like 3 songs, and that's like not enough because I have the 4 songs I didn't like, and the rest, in my opinion, is just like filler. I didn't really like think it was necessary. I mean, they could have trimmed out a good like 8 or 9 tracks and just maybe made a decent album, but it's definitely too long, too much filler. So it's a thumbs down. It's a no for me on this one. Yeah.
Nice. So that leaves me. So I actually so when I listened to this back 20 years ago, I was in my 20s. So maybe I was more immature, and when it came out, I was like, yeah, Limp Bizkit. And yes, I still like "You Eat You Alive," but yes, I agree with Tom. When you read the lyrics about like sniffing her panties, and I'm like, yeah, there's a sexual harassment in that song, yeah. But I really still like that track. I like the guitar on that track, and I like that one. I think the ones that JC mentioned, Build a Bridge and Down Another Day, they're good tracks, and
Sure.
they did try to do different things, but this album suffers from a lot of filler and like Take It Home, Reentry. Like if you take those out, the album would flow better. And also that Behind Blue Eyes cover is just, you know, if you're gonna do a cover, do it justice. But yeah, it's a half lazy cover that I liked it when I first heard it because I hadn't heard the original. But as a whole, as an album, yeah, it probably is their weakest album. I even enjoyed the one that they put out an album like a last year or something that I enjoyed more than
Yeah.
this one. Like the one that Limp Bizkit Still Sucks, which I
Yeah.
think it's hilarious album title. And actually, I'm still a fan because I was going to see Limp Bizkit last year when I was living in Florida in a concert. And when I got to it was a concert at Hard Rock Live. They canceled the concert because the concert promoter put seats in the mosh pit. And I'm like, who the hell puts seats in a mosh pit? But then I thought, you know, it's Limp Bizkit. You know, their fans are old now. They're probably not gonna mosh. So the concert was canceled, and I was like, no. But yeah,
You never want to sit down at a metal concert.
yeah, like I was really bummed. I just
Your
wanted
legs
to,
crossed and with you know.
yeah. You imagine like listening to break stuff and with seats there? No, so because the promoter didn't want to take the seats out, so I was in the line and they said there's no concert. I was like, what? And so yeah, it was a bummer. But going back to Results May Vary, I think that he even knew that this album was going to be Rough on Feathers because he named it Results May Vary. And a lot of like Limp Bizkit fans were mad that Wes Borland wasn't on the album. So yeah, it's an album that when it came out, the critics weren't kind to it, and I can see why. Listening to it now, 20 years later, I used to love it when it came out, but no, not so much. So I would give it a thumbs down as well. So there you have it. Limp Bizkit, Results May Vary, goes in the trash can. So that's our thoughts on it. So you know, what album should we cover next? People, comment, let us know. Like, and if you like the videos that we're putting out, do not forget to give us a like and do not forget to subscribe. Also, please subscribe to my guest channels, channels like JC Rock and Metal Reviews. He's nearing the 2000 mark, right? Right, JC?
1600, yeah.
Yeah, that's
1610 around that, yeah.
Yeah, and subscribe to him. And Tom the Green Man is getting closer to 400 subscribers. So please subscribe to him as well. He does a lot of like, besides doing album reviews, he is doing interviews with shoegaze artists. And he's also doing like rankings of movies and books. Like when you see Tom, you see there's a man that knows how to read a book, unlike Fred. That probably just read the sports section. So yeah. So, and of course, if you're seeing this and you haven't subscribed to me, you please do and give us a like and share these videos. It helps the YouTube algorithm. I'm nearing 700 in my channel, and I would like this year. My goal this year would be to get to 1,000 or close to it, but I'm working on that. So, what guys? What album should you think we should cover next? I know that JC had a pick. So Tom, I'm gonna leave this one to you. You can pick the next album that we should do. You don't have to say it now. You could think about it and
I'll have to
let
think
me
about
know.
it.
Yeah. And we'll do that in the next few weeks. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield on a Couch, and I'll see you right here on the couch. Thank you and good night.